Hey everyone, welcome to Tales and Texts, and I'm your host Nisha. I hope you're doing really great. So in today's video, I'm going to be starting a new playlist which I hope to update as often as possible. Now, if you remember my Days of South Asian Mystic, that is my old channel, you will remember that I had done a review of a series called the Critical Edition of the Ramayana. This is the series in question, so you may actually remember this, and I will put a link to that video down below where I give you my review of having read the critical edition of the Ramayana, which was translated by Debroy. Now, just for some clarity, the critical edition is the translation of the oldest manuscript in existence of the epics. Now, the epics in Hinduism are the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, and the critical editions are the English translations of the oldest manuscript in existence, which has been chosen and collated by experts as the official earliest form of the epic available for people to peruse. Now, the critical edition is actually in Sanskrit of both the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, and this series that I lean towards is translated by Debroy. So I had done a review of the critical edition of the Ramayana on South Asian Mystic, and in this playlist I am going to be doing a usual, like a weekly or possibly bi-weekly updates on how my reading experience with the critical edition of the Mahabharata, which is vastly larger and much more complicated than the Ramayana, goes on. So the critical edition of the Mahabharata has been translated and kept in the Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute, BORI, in Pune, and this is what the first book looks like. There are 10 volumes in this book, and let me tell you, they are mammoth. Each book ranges between 500 pages to 750 pages, diverse lengths. The technicalities within each book is different. While some books contain the stories that circulate within the Mahabharata, and let me tell you, the stories are innumerable. It's not just about the Pandavas and the Kauravas, but you meet an entire universe of characters that go right back to the origin of the universe and to the origin of Hinduism. And other books are more philosophical in nature. They deal with, like for example, the Bhagavad Gita, which is a treatise on understanding how humans should live their lives. It is told or narrated by Krishna to Arjuna during the pivotal moment in the Mahabharata war at Kurukshetra. Other books deal with the philosophical tenets shared by Bhishma to Yudhishthira as he lies on his deathbed. So there's a ton of things that is present in the Mahabharata. It is actually the longest epic in the world. In fact, the Mahabharata is so long that it is 8 times the length of the Iliad and the Odyssey combined. So you can imagine the kind of work that I've set for myself as I read this critical edition. And the really amazing and challenging thing about Vivek Debroy's translation is that he has translated word for word of the original Sanskrit text, which means the complicated terminology, the nuances and of the grammar of the time, the usage of vocabulary, and even certain changes in the plot, which let's say 200 pages ago was mentioned in one way and now it's mentioned in another way, is recorded exactly as in the Sanskrit original. So it's quite exciting for me, and I had mentioned this when I was reviewing the critical edition of the Ramayana as well, that it was extremely fascinating for me to see how this epic has turned out, because these epics weren't written in one setting by a single person. It was compiled, both these epics were compiled in fact by hundreds of people over the course of many millennia. So you can see the shift in societal perspectives and societal values and literary development, language development. So it's absolutely beautiful. So the critical edition of the Mahabharata, like I mentioned, there are 10 books in English. I have the critical edition of the Mahabharata in Kannada, which is my mother tongue, and that goes on to 32 volumes, and that's predominantly because the language in Kannada is very similar to the language in Sanskrit. That is, the way the language is written is more complicated and more flowery and poetic, and therefore it takes up more space. But because English is a limiting language, The number of words used when we are actually translating the epics is also significantly lesser. So, but like I mentioned, 10 books, with each book ranging between 500 and 750 pages. So that's a lot of reading. So in today's first update, I just wanted to introduce this playlist, that this playlist is going to track my progress through the Mahabharata. And as you can see, I'm still in volume 1. I've been reading volume 1 for the better part of the year now, and as you can see, I have just made it through till page number 309. So I'm reading it very slow. I call this my slow reading process, where I sit and I make tons of notes. And as you can see, the number of flags that I've put up over here in this book is tremendous. My family thinks I'm a little crazy because for sticking so many flags everywhere. And if it isn't the flags, I am making tons and tons of notes. Like for example, over here, I have made so many notes, across all over the margins. As you can see, right? So, oops, my bookmark and my flags fell down. So I have underlined, I've made a lot of notes, and beyond that, I have also kept a book over here, which is my diary for when I want to actually sit and write about the Mahabharata. So I'm just gonna open this up and I'm gonna show you what I have written and how things are progressing over here. So I am making notes. So when I started making notes for the Mahabharata, I started making notes on all the important things I read there. And so I realized that if I was going to do that, I'm never going to finish the volume 1, let alone the entire series. So I started making notes of only important things that I wanted to remember in terms of a technical perspective. So for example, the possible timelines that historians and archaeologists have suggested for the Mahabharata, the avatars of gods who became humans, the avatars of the other celestial beings who were cursed and had to come as demons, the different layers of heaven and the different layers of hell. Because in Hinduism, it's not clear cut like how you see in Christian mythology. There's one heaven and one hell. It's not the same here in Hinduism. In Hinduism, there are different levels of spaces given to different people based on the merits that they earn or the merits that they lose in their physical corporeal life. So those technical information are something that I'm noting down. And I have also started pasting photographs of the different parvas based on the character. So for example, this is the Pausha Parva, which is and the Puloma Parva, where we talk of the different sages and of this is, I think, Janamejaya listening to, yeah, this I remember. So this is Janamejaya listening to the narration of the Mahabharata. So this is something this was a painting that I found online that was titled as such, so I picked it up. Now mind you, these are not completely accurate paintings or pictures that I've pasted over here. They are just a representation of what I'm reading about. Now, in saying that, I do have certain pictures that are corresponding to certain people or entities. For example, here is a photo of Garuda. I don't know if you can see this in this light. It's pretty, dull. But this is something that I actually saw when I went to Jaipur, the museums that I went to. This is a Nepalese rendition of Garuda in metal, and it was absolutely fascinating. So they said it was okay to take photos, so I did, and so I printed it out. So, and this is I'm going to be pasting this along with the snake sacrifice that Janamejaya holds for killing the snakes. And that sets the stage for the narration of the Mahabharata. So I'm doing a bunch of things with that. And for example, like I mentioned, the gods' names, their avatars, things like that. So plenty of notes are being written. So right now I'm at the stage in the Mahabharata where Pandu has been cursed by the Brahmana, and he finds out that he can't have children because of his curse, and he's trying to convince Kunti to perform Niyoga. And Niyoga is basically where the woman who is unable to conceive because of problems with her husband's reproductive functioning, can invite a Brahmana man, preferably a rishi of reputable standing, who is not connected to the sensory experiences or of pleasure, and who is willing to share their seed in order to help this family, help this woman and this man who can't have biological children to have progeny to extend their lineage. So Pandu is trying to convince Kunti to perform Niyoga, and then she informs him that she doesn't need to do Niyoga because she has a mantra from Durvasa which can help her get anything she wants from deities. And so that's the point where I've stopped right now. And as I read forward, I will do more updates. This video is a little long because I wanted to introduce this entire playlist, but I'm hoping to keep the next few videos under 5 minutes so that I can just do a quick wrap up of how I'm progressing with these books. After the Mahabharata, I have plans of starting the Harivamsha and the Purana. So apart from the Harivamsha, I have the Brahma Purana, the Vishnu Purana, the Markandeya Purana, and yeah, I think that's about it so far. And those books are also quite hefty. And then I also have the Upanishads, the Arthashastra, the Vedas. I actually bought the translations of the Vedas as well, the Kama Sutra, and just I've got plenty of things that I have in my reading list, especially in terms of scriptures and books from ancient India and ancient Hinduism. And apart from that, I have works by ancient Sanskrit and ancient Indian scholars like Kalidasa. I have Meghadutam and Ritu Samharan, and yeah, other books by him, and quite a few books like that I need to get through. But yeah, you know what, I am going to keep you updated on how my progress with the Mahabharata keeps going on. And if you want to read along with me, do come on board. You can find the Vivek Debroy's books in physical format on Amazon and also in bookstores across India. You can get the entire set. When I purchased it, it was around 4,500, but that was because it had just released then. I think the value has come down significantly now, so you might be able to nab it at a discounted price. If you don't want to get the physical books, you can get the same books on Kindle, although I heartily recommend that you get the physical books because, like I mentioned, you can put in flags, you can make lots of notes in this, and these are books that you need to get in your hands, just feel the books and have them, because these are not just reading material, these are things that you can keep for posterity and that you can pass down generations in your family as well. So yeah, join me, and if you have read these books already, let me know how you felt. Has it changed you and your perspective? So let me know. And if you want to read along with me, like I said, I invite you to read along with me. Come along, join, post your questions, and we can have a discussion, post your opinions as well, and yeah, we can have a growing and thriving community right here for the Mahabharata. So yeah, with that, I will sign off from the first video of the Reading Mahabharata series and playlist, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.